Do you ever get that feeling that it's like having a headwind pushing against you, kind of providing some resistance in the activities you're trying to get done, your team's activities that are trying to get done? Well, that's my topic for today. Hi, I'm Joshua Barnes, the founder of Process Mentors, and welcome to this edition of All Things Disciplined Agile. So I'm continuing on with a mini series on discipline agile value stream management's approach. The items that are in green I have covered in the previous weeks, and today I will be talking about value stream impedance. So from a flow perspective, this is what we would like to feel, right? Where we're maybe rolling a rather large sphere, a good quantity of work, us as well as the team that we're on and the teams within the value network that we're part of. But oftentimes, what we find is we're in a situation like this, right? Where instead of rolling a nice sphere along, even one of some size, we're trying to push along a big giant cube. So there's a bit of resistance, or sometimes a lot of resistance, to our ability to be as effective as possible in the value that we are trying to deliver. And that's what today's topic is. So value stream impedance is the resistance that we face in the value stream or within the value network our value stream is part of. And what are some of the things that we can recognize and begin to make some improvements on? So I'm going to take us through a list of some of the ones that are more common, some of the ones that hopefully will spark a little bit of discussion and thinking on your end, and be able to work within your organization to bring some good awareness to this and see what types of improvements you can make. So the first one is pushed work, right? So we've just got, whether it's leadership, management, stakeholders, we've got a lot of unplanned work, right? The work that is just being put on top of what we were planning to do. And the visual I like to think about is just like a dump truck here, just dumping a lot of work for us to take on and do, even though we've already committed to doing something else. And some of the sources of this unplanned work, well, it could be stakeholders, and it could be the stakeholders we're already working with on the project we're on or the minimum business increment we're contributing to implementing. It can be an important stakeholder, somebody that just based on their titled position or how empowered they are in the organization, they're asking for something, and there's an expectation that they're going to get it, and we're going to do it for them. Leadership, right? And all the way up to the top, executive management. Sometimes some of the pushed work that is put onto teams or even individual team members is coming from very high up in the organization. Managers, our operational managers, the people that we might be reporting to, and we might be in a situation where we really can't say no. Our manager's asking us for something, even though we've committed to doing a quantity of work already. Could be other teams. It could be somebody from a shared services area, the IT operations or maintenance people that are responsible for, bug fixes and maintaining the products that we might be enhancing. And then other value streams, either other value streams in our value network, or could be the other value streams outside of the development perspective, right? Our operational and supporting value streams. So unplanned work always has a cost associated with it. And this is one of the things that creates that resistance for us to be able to deliver things as effectively as possible. Another one is hidden work, right? Yeah, the top secret work that nobody knows about. Yeah, it's the work that just isn't visible, and it might not be on a team's backlog. It might not be on some form of an information radiator. Possibly, stakeholders and managers are not even aware of it. So one of the things that we want to be very conscious of is what type of work that we don't have any visibility into is out there. And sometimes it can just be a team member. A team member can be taking on some work, right? Whether that was pushed work or work that they're taking on because they're interested in doing it. And some of the things that I've encountered across multiple organizations is a situation where even if there is an agile approach being used, whether it's an iterative approach or a flow-based, a Kanban approach. We might have a team member that has some of this invisible work. And they might say, well, yeah, I'm doing some of this, but I'm still doing all the work that was committed to. But they're letting their team down. They're letting their value stream down because they don't know that that invisible work is the most important thing that can be worked on. They could be taking on some other activities, some value-adding tasks that help get the flow of work that was committed to done sooner and done to a higher level of quality. Another area is just the size of work. And this is something that is, in the previous episodes, I've talked about quite a bit. The batch size is too large, right? We need to be identifying the smallest amount of work, right? The minimum that we can do that is still going to add value to a customer because we get all of the positives that come from that. Quicker feedback, quicker return on investment. And these large batches of work are going to impact the cost of delay. It delays feedback from within the team, feedback potentially across teams, feedback across value streams and a value network. And ultimately, it delays feedback from the marketplace, from our customers. It's also harder to forecast, right? The larger the work, the longer time period it's going to take, the more of a challenge it is for us to really get a good understanding of how long and how complex that work is. How about unrealistic deadlines, right? The situation where it's just get it done, right? Timelines that are not being set by the people doing the work. So quality suffers, right? Typically, we're in a situation now where we've got to get things done. We start to abandon a bit of our process. Some of the things that we know might cost us later, we're going to have to fix them downstream, is starting to creep in. Potential value decreases, right? Again, are we now able to get all of the scope, all of the most important things? Are we able to really understand what that minimum sufficient functionality is? Team members get frustrated, right? When we're underneath unrealistic timelines that we were not setting, that are being set for us or given to us, we get very frustrated. We get burned out. Sometimes we start to see attrition on teams and within organizations of team members that are providing a tremendous amount of value, but they've just had enough. How about too much work in process, right? High level of work in process, too much work started and too little work being completed, right? So we end up with a lot of context switching, multitasking. We end up with decreased efficiency, right? Just by the very nature of getting into the thought process, getting something done and having to switch over to something else, or just figuring out what it is I'm working on sometimes. Who's yelling the loudest? And hopefully nobody's yelling, but who's the one that's got the ear of whoever it is that's driving us to get the next bit of work done because we have so much in process? Or how about paralysis due to chaos, right? We just have so many things that are in process. Sometimes we're just not even sure where we should start or how we're going to approach getting something that's going to be completed and we can move on to the next value adding activity. Infrequent integration, right? And infrequent integrations often result in a lot of errors, a lot of rework, a lot of delays, and that work that is a result of these errors and rework is the very work that we should have never have had to do in the first place. So we can see that delays or infrequent integration across a team, across teams supporting a product, right? Across teams that are supporting a more complicated MBI, right, within the value stream, all potential areas where we're going to see a decrease in efficiency, right? Going back to again, that impedance, the resistance that we're feeling. So a single product versus a value stream. So a lot of times we're very single product focused, right? And we are not looking to be stream aligned from the work that we're doing, right? This results in increased dependencies. It also results sometimes in undiscovered dependencies, right? Dependencies that weren't discovered that now have become some form of an issue. We can end up with uncoordinated funding, right? If we're taking a very siloed approach and focus on work that's going to get done in a single product, again, when we've got enhancements or things that need to be done across our development stream and the products that we're enhancing, as well as our supporting and operational value stream, as we're looking at these from that single product perspective, oftentimes we're not coordinating funding, which means we're not going to potentially be able to release the value that we've been working on in some of the other areas. And lastly, blindsiding other areas, right? If we're taking a siloed approach, even if we're taking a good, solid, agile way of working for one of our products, we can still blindside other areas because we are not stream aligned. How about having lots of dependencies, right? A high level of dependencies, which often cause delays, which result in waste, right? It results in sometimes more work having to be done and rework. So sometimes this is a result of a poor value creation structure. Sometimes it results in us needing to be really fantastic, super duper at coordinating activities. Discipline Agile has a lot of guidance around coordinating activities, but again, our goal and focus needs to be to not have to coordinate. We want to not have so many cross-team or cross-value stream dependencies, right? We end up with fire drills, right? Again, so what's the most important thing that we're working on might get bumped because we've got a missed dependency, an unidentified dependency, or just lots of them. Not working on the highest value items is often a result of some of the issues we have with a high level of dependencies. Localized governance, right? That's how we do it here. That's a long-standing approach that is still honored. These are things that often not only create impedance, the resistance to what we're trying to accomplish, but they're very arduous and have a lot of wasteful byproducts. So sometimes we've got decisions that are still made by committee, right? Where we have an empowered product owner, empowered product ownership team, we've got a product manager, but yet we still have to run decisions by a committee because that's how we've done it in this particular area. And that's what I consider a localized governance issue. Double set of books, right? Sometimes what we have in some of these localized governance areas is we have things that have always been done and there's expectation that we're going to continue to do them at the cost of doing some of the more valuable activities we could be doing, which results in non-valuable work, right? Things that are taking away our capacity that aren't going to be providing value. This often results in a lot of waiting or delays. If we have something like, again, some form of a steering committee or an empowered set of stakeholders or managers that are needing to make a decision or be informed in some other way that is outside of what we're trying to accomplish with, again, our chosen agile way of working, we're going to end up potentially with a lot of waiting. Not optimal decisions, right? Again, how far removed are the people that might be doing some of these localized governance practices? Are they going to be making an informed, best, timely decision? How about our way of working? Does our way of working feel like an obstacle course, right? Is it not fit for our purpose? So is it a one-size-fits-all approach? Is it a highly prescriptive approach? Or maybe we have a couple of prescriptive approaches that are handed out or thrust upon teams doing their work. How about arduous governance? Right? Have we moved into an agile way of working? And what we find is we still have a mostly traditional or completely traditional governance approach. Is it evidence-based reviews versus outcome-based? Some of the things from a way of working perspective that cause resistance to us in getting our work done. The inherent problem, right, where we have a hierarchical management structure, right? So all the way from the top and varying levels down all the way until we get to the doers of the work, right? And so this reporting structure is oftentimes a very siloed approach. We have very specific paths in the chain of command, the managers in the organization that are all the way, from a up-down vertical perspective. The problem is that value is created across all of these areas, right? That is our inherent problem. So hierarchical management structures oftentimes are going to provide resistance. Management often is focused also on high levels of utilization, right, in their particular specialty area. This is something else that we can be at odds with trying to get value delivered more effectively. People management, right? The human resources area. Do we have titled positions that are at odds with how value is created, or how we're trying to create it in a much more efficient and effective way? People are evaluated based on their titled position, right? And if you're in the development value stream and you're a team member that has development skills, are you evaluated based on how many lines of code you write versus how we're able to contribute to the overall value flowing more quickly? Is compensation based on that, right? And the outcomes of the team and the value to the customer are not used, but it is something, a measure that is more akin to what is in align with the deprecation of our titled position. Value creation structure options are also often not possible due to these management reporting structures. So there are things in the people management area that can provide resistance to what we're trying to do from a value stream management perspective. Lack of agreements, right? Working agreements and agreed upon ways of working, both from a process and a behavioral perspective, right? Team agreements, team norms, team process agreement, team working agreement. Agreements between the business side, right, our portfolio management side, and the implementation side. Among all initiators of requests, how requests are being ordered, evaluated, how we're making decisions on what's going to be of most value and move forward with that, looking at the capacity of everybody that's needed to contribute to those value-adding activities, right? All implementation teams, right, the development, the supporting, the operational value streams. So lack of agreement and lack of how we are going to be working together is one value stream management area, one team essentially, all the way across all three of our value streams. How about technical debt, right? All the technical debt that's sitting on top of, crushing our ability to get things done. So unmanaged, growing, or stagnant technical debt, right? It makes it harder to get new work completed. Paying it down is often seen as a byproduct to other enhancement work we're doing, right? While you're in there, you're just going to pay down and fix anything that is the technical debt you keep coming up with. No consideration of portfolio management. We're not reserving capacity of the teams. We're not explicitly having a way to know that we need to consider paying down technical debt so we're in a better position in the future. And finally, how about decision latency, right? You're looking at your watch all the time. Decisions take forever. So long waiting times for decisions to be made. Information aging, we're waiting for a decision to be made, and therefore we've moved on to something else. Then we have to go back to pick up where we were. So we have context switching, the aging of information, which impacts what we're able to do. How far removed are the decision makers, right? If they're not localized, right, they might not be making the best decision and taking a long time to make it, right? All things that impact us and have, again, that feeling of resistance, that feeling like we have a headwind right on top of us as we're trying to get our work done. So let's see if we've got any questions out there. I will say hello, Jagriti, once again. It's great to see you here, as well as John. Yeah, thanks again for coming. And John in Raleigh and Jagriti in South Africa. Lots of areas across the world is absolutely fantastic. So if you have any further questions, any thoughts, any resistance, any impedance factors that you can come up with, please put them in the chat on LinkedIn. I'll keep looking at them, seeing if there's anything I can add in addition to that. And thanks for watching today. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everyone.